The most important thing that I found in getting to be your best self, which I think I can say that's everybody's goal, living your best life, finding fulfillment, meeting your potential, however you want to phrase it. I think it's pretty similar across the board. Happiness, right? If you want to call it. And I think it's the way that we talk to ourselves.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Welcome to Health in the Real World. We're here today with Allison Manzi. Allison, how's it going? Thanks for joining.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Happy you're here. It sounds like you have a history as a personal trainer and then sort of took that into more of a habits-based approach. Talk a little bit about what you do now as far as habit formation for clients.
Sure. So like you mentioned, I started out as a personal trainer doing physical fitness and nutrition. And my career kind of developed based on the need that I saw. So I was writing programs for clients, writing nutrition plans, giving them basically the best science and the best programming possible. And I still was seeing people fail. And that was frustrating to me because these people wanted to succeed. They had every resource available to them, but they were still unable to stick to the plan. So I kind of wiggled into that niche a little bit and started studying cognitive behavior change, achievement psychology, life transformation, and really digging into that self-narrative. So that's really what I'm focusing on now. I do a lot of meditation, spiritual wellness, but kind of blending that spirituality with psychology. So there's still a lot of science to it in terms of behavior patterns, but there's still a lot of connecting to the self and the intuition that makes it feel more personal and like, not like people are being diagnosed. So that's kind of the focus now in terms of helping people figure out what their obstacles are, getting out of their own way and working on that internal dialogue and the sort of patterns or behaviors that are leading them to either success, hopefully, or what their difficulty is at the moment.
I think that's really interesting, especially in this day and age where you can literally go on YouTube and watch a 5, 10, 20, 30 hour-long fitness video.
Yeah.
And so really people are still overweight, probably more than ever now, still out of shape, still frustrated with their own physical condition. And we know, just based off of how much information is out there, we know it's not an information thing. Nobody's really lacking access to information. And so I think that's great that you're now, cognitive psychology, is that the term that you started studying?
Yeah, cognitive behavior change.
Cognitive behavior change. So really getting into the roots of, okay, here are two people, I give them each the same program. This person achieves amazing results. This person does nothing. Let me dig a little deeper. Okay, why did you achieve results? Well, I did it every day. This person over here, I did it a few times and I decided, I was too busy, blah, blah, we've heard all the excuses.
Right.
And, we've all been there. I'm not, judging by any means. I've done it myself.
Yeah, me too.
It's like the question, I don't know if you got this answer as a personal trainer when, your client walks in the door and you say, so, Joe, did you do the workout that I gave you? And they don't give you a yes or no. It's, I tried, or I thought about it. These are all code words for no. So, oh, you didn't do it. Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I think this is cool. I think we can dive into this and you can give people some really good advice as far as how they can get started. Speaking of getting started, I know this depends on the person, but in general, what would you tell somebody who is not healthy, is not fit, and wants to get started on something? What is the foundation? What do they need to do first?
Well, I think the biggest thing is getting the mindset right, of course, right? And kind of committing to self-honesty. I think that a lot of the excuses and the validation that we award to ourselves sort of enables us to stay in our unfavorable behaviors, so the things that we don't want to do. So the mindset is kind of the first conceptual thing, and then in terms of the first actual thing, it would be clarifying the goal and making sure that it is, the SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. So making sure that they know what they want to achieve and how they would know when they got there. So not just saying, I want to be healthy or I want to be in better shape. Like, what do those things mean? So having people really define what they're after, how would they know when they got there, and making sure that the motivation is in line with what they're after, that they're motivated enough to achieve it against the obstacles. So the motivation has to outweigh the obstacles or the adversity that it would take to overcome it.
Getting the mindset right, getting the goals down.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's been going along for several months, maybe even several years, and they sort of fall off the wagon, they lose that motivation. What's your pep talk at that point to get it back? They've already achieved some results.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of lost their drive a little bit.
Yeah, lost the mojo. I mean, this happens a lot. It's so common and it's so human. And it is different for each person, kind of depending on why they fell off. But I think the biggest thing is to help the client to understand that there is no wagon. Like, you're not on or off. And the habits that you're choosing or the behaviors that you're choosing should be integrated into your life. It shouldn't feel like you're on a diet or off a diet. It shouldn't feel like you're sort of displacing your regular life to perform this, other life. So that's the first thing, is to get out of that mindset of sort of all or nothing, which a lot of people have, and they kind of associate failure with, not being 100% consistent. But I think the journey has to allow for that. They kind of have to anticipate that ahead of time, that they're going to fall off and life is inconsistent and holidays come up and people get sick. That's always going to happen. So setting ourselves up for a life where we won't ever mess up is already unrealistic and setting ourselves up for failure. So getting that out of our heads and kind of giving some self-compassion to be human. And we're always going to have to step aside from healthy eating or workouts. Things are going to happen, but what really matters is getting back on. So to award themselves with getting back on after the setback. So the failure is not the setback itself. The failure would be to not get back on. So kind of looking at it more in those small behaviors and not necessarily the end result, like, oh, I'm farther away from my goal, but can I achieve as many habits as possible towards my goal today? So kind of like making it smaller, because sometimes people think like, oh, I have to go on this diet for a year. I'm going to go for 6 months. And when they fall off, they look at it as this giant goal and they think, I failed at the giant goal, but it's just one day. So
Right.
If they can just think, what can I do today? Did I do my best today? Like, redefining that success is doing everything you could that day. That's successful. And then starting over every single day. It's always one little journey and one little goal each day to do the best you can. So kind of microdosing it that way.
I think that's great. Instead of taking this huge lofty goal, you're looking at one little day at a time. And then I like what you said, there's no wagon. Like you didn't fall off a wagon. There's no wagon. It's like
you were never on it. Exactly.
Keep going. It's all good. And I think to that point too, there's I think the easiest way to become successful at health and fitness specifically is to know that there are failures, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, and I think that's one theme that I've seen with all the trainers that have been on the show so far in the 2 months or so that I've been doing this, that there's just like this level of realism. Mm-hmm. That we just know like stuff is going to happen and you're just going to forget this and you're going to not do that. And it's just like, okay, well that happened already. Let's just move on and learn from it and not beat myself up and just move on from there. So what about you personally? Like, where do you personally struggle with your health and fitness, or where have you struggled in the past? And what strategies have you used to sort of overcome those struggles?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, my biggest struggle is that I get bored, and we know that consistency is key. So, I'll kind of stick with something for a few days or a few weeks and then drop it and wonder why I'm not, seeing results, especially when it comes to physical fitness. But I think when it comes to things like diet and routine and being consistent in general, my biggest hurdle is having the kind of, daily things come up. So things that are more important, like, you get a job interview at the last minute, you have to kind of skip your workout if you need a job, or, if a loved one is sick, or, a pipe burst in your ceiling, things like that. That's kind of my biggest struggle, is having to put my goals aside, because I don't want to prioritize other things. I just want to be kind of laser focused, and getting thrown off from that routine and having to kind of make room for other parts of my life and kind of let my priorities ebb and flow a little bit more, and kind of like what I was just saying, give myself a little bit more forgiveness and a little bit more self-compassion when those things do come around, because I feel like as a coach, I'm so hard on myself because I'm like, well, I have to practice what I preach. So I'm really, really strict on myself with that. But I think it's just kind of managing those ups and downs and letting myself off the hook a little bit when it comes to the end of the day. And if I didn't get around to my workout, or I didn't eat as clean as I wanted to, or I didn't get my meditation in, just kind of saying, okay, I can't wait to do better tomorrow. I'm ready for tomorrow. I'm excited. I did the best I could. It's a small part of the big scheme, kind of like what I was saying before, and just kind of focus on what I can do, and focusing on the next day and getting myself excited. So again, that self-narrative of, not harping on and reiterating and ruminating on what I didn't do well, but focusing on, okay, how can I self-correct? How can I better prepare for next time? How can I prepare for these things? Take them as a lesson and not as a failure, and just kind of focusing on the next step and being better the next time around.
Yeah. And I think what you mentioned about things coming up, and, if you need a job, right, or the pipe bursts, or there's sort of that distinction, right? I'm sure you've heard the difference between, being important and being urgent. And you have, it kind of forms a quad, right? There's the non-important, non-urgent. It's like, why are you even doing those?
Yeah.
There's the not important, but urgent. I can't even imagine what that might be, if it's not important, but it's super urgent. And then your workouts, I would say, are important, but not urgent, right? If you don't do it, nobody's going to die or anything. And then, so of course, if something comes up that's very important and very urgent, that's always going to overshadow the workout. Your pipe bursts. If you don't take care of this now, your house is going to flood.
Yeah.
You need a job. And if you don't get a job, you can't eat, you can't, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And again, going back to the realistic aspect where, you have to fit fitness into your life, and yeah, you just roll with it. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. I have a final question. We're going real big picture here.
Okay.
You are invited to give a speech at the graduation ceremony at a university, let's say, and you're here to talk to the graduates about big life, big picture in life, your principles that have helped you succeed, and different values and work ethic and all that stuff. So kind of the motivational speech type of thing. What kinds of things would you say to those graduates?
I mean, for me, in all of my learning and all of my process, the most important thing that I found in getting to be your best self, which I think I can say that's everybody's goal, living your best life, finding fulfillment, meeting your potential, however you want to phrase it. I think it's pretty similar across the board. Happiness, right, if you want to call it. And I think it's the way that we talk to ourselves. I had a friend the other day who was saying, I don't know, she was making fun of the way she looked in some way. And I was like, don't talk to my friend like that. And we don't realize how much we are cruel to ourselves and we berate ourselves. And I think that's something that I have mastered at this point in the way that I talk to myself. I'm so kind and supportive, and I'm kind of my biggest cheerleader and my biggest coach. And I think that will take us through anything, because it's such an inward reaching skill. And we have such an outward facing culture and society. where we're constantly grasping at things that are external to try to make us feel good and give us those human feelings that we need of connection, accomplishment, significance, love, importance. And we reach for status, and we reach for money, and we reach for a certain job title, and we reach for a partner, and we reach for social popularity and likes on Instagram. And it's a constant chase where we're never going to be fulfilled, and our happiness is resting in somebody else's hands. So it's like saying you have your most valuable vase, right? And you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to put it in your hands. Be careful, don't drop it. And you're going to be panicking the entire time somebody's holding that, right? It's where all of our anxiety comes from, because we don't have any control over our source of happiness. It's like our fix of a drug, right? Like our human needs. And we're depending on somebody to deliver it to us. And we're constantly chasing them and worried about when we're going to get our next hit, so to speak. So I think that inward reaching, turning into that inward facing habit where you're really focusing on, what can I give myself? What don't I need? What am I telling myself that I'm not, good enough at, or that I don't have enough of? And kind of working on that self-dialogue about, how do I feel about myself? And if it's something I'm lacking, what can I do about it? And how can I find something that will serve this need that doesn't come from somebody else or an external source? So I think I would tell them, that relationship with yourself, and that way you'll be safe and secure no matter what changes around you, because especially going into the world, everything's going to change. And the more that we cling to our environment, the less we can grow. So just being safe and secure with yourself, giving yourself what you need. And that way you can, find your best path and really take opportunities as they come and change and grow and reach your potential.
Great. I think that's a great analogy with the vase holding. Here, hold this for me. This is my happiness. I'm giving it to you.
Yeah, you're going to panic.
If we're going to panic, that's what we all do it, right? We've all done it before. That's great. So, Allison, Manzi, where can people find you online, social media, website?
Sure. So you can go to my website. It's ionlifestyle.com, or you can check me out on Instagram. It's ion_wellness. And there's a link in the bio for any services you want to book. You can get a free 15-minute consult call if you want to try out behavior change or self-narrative work. And there's also workshops and virtual classes online there.
Awesome. Allison, Manzi, thank you so much for joining me today on Health in the Real World.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.